I come from a culture where a majority of our marriages still are arranged marriages, like 70 to 80% maybe. And although I don't subscribe to that idea for myself, over time in Western cultures, especially during my time in the US, I have seen a particular brand of snobbery against the idea of arranged marriages, as if what is happening in arranged marriages is so wildly different than what is happening in the dating world, and is so archaic and is so old fashioned, that it's something that you can judge or look down upon. And while it can be true in very limited circumstances, the more I learn about the dating world and how dating is done in the Western world, the more I feel like that is not true. And these two experiences are not as wildly different from each other as people think that they are. Also, the assumption that arranged marriages are still done in ways that they were done 60 years ago, 50 years ago, is an assumption of the Western world that culturally, maybe India or maybe some other place, Eastern place, is culturally frozen in time, and that's not the case. A few misconceptions that I feel that people have in arranged marriage, about arranged marriages. One of them is that arranged marriages are typically forced. This is not true. A normal arranged marriage, a regular arranged marriage, is not forced. You are asked your opinion and you have the right to make all the calls. Nobody else is typically deciding for you. Will your parents chip in? Yes, because that's the nature of the institution. Is it possible that in certain cases they put a lot of pressure? It is also possible. But again, is it the norm? It's not the norm. In the Western world, for somebody who's dating, their parents can have an influence on their dating choices. But that's not the norm. That's not what is expected of that experience. So no, arranged marriages are not forced. It's not normal when they are. Other misconception that I have felt, that is another misconception that I often feel, is that they are very mechanical. Arranged marriages are very mechanical. One person is looking at another person's salary or what they do for a living, blah blah blah. Now, okay, this argument has some credit, but that is exactly what happens in the dating world too. That is exactly what is happening in the dating apps as well. If anything, I think dating apps have given the world, the Western side of the world, a little bit of a preview in what essentially happens in arranged marriages. You see a profile, and of course, there are specific platforms for arranged marriages, and the protocol for how you have to make your profile is a bit different, obviously. But you essentially look at a person, you look at what they look like physically, you look at their education, where they live, a few of their hobbies, and maybe a few other things that they might want to mention about themselves. And also there's family information that is typical, like the name of the mother and the father and what they do, etc. And then you make a choice whether or not you want to call them, whether or not you want to take the conversation ahead. So it's very much like the dating apps in that sense. And let me also add, in today's world, everything that is happening on the dating apps pretty much is happening on platforms for arranged marriages. People are ghosting each other. They are making promises and then they don't call at the specified time, etc., etc. So human beings are just being human beings on both platforms. The third one, and the most contentious one, is that arranged marriages, people care a lot about caste and religion, obviously, when it comes to arranged marriages. This is true, but here's what I would like to explain what the Western world doesn't understand about castes. Yes, caste is and was and has been used as a hierarchical system. So one is above the other, is above the other. But that's a bird's eye view of the caste system. There are not just 4 groups or hierarchies in castes. There are hundreds of different castes or ethnic groups, you can say, in India. So castes often are blends composed of ethnicity, religion, and your tribal orientation, and they result in these groups that share a distinct way of living. They share the same culture, they share the same beliefs, they share the same food, and the same festivals, and the same language. So caste is not just this hierarchy, it is also, there are many hundreds of horizontal lines in caste. So there are many castes in this line, and neither of them is really higher or lower than the other, but they are different. And if I am born in a particular caste or a particular community or a particular ethnicity or a particular religion, my language, my food, and India is so diverse. That is what people forget. I have spoken the language that my community speaks in my house growing up. I have eaten distinct food, and it's not just about vegetarian and non-vegetarian. That is a part of it. But even another community that is vegetarian, we still have completely different cuisines. Then I have different festivals, and so much of the cultural identity of Indian heritage, even for different groups, lies in their festivals. And there are festivals every 15 days essentially, and it's where the community comes together and celebrates it. Now, this is your way of life. This is the core foundation around which you have built your life. And unless you are madly in love with someone already, if you are starting off on your search for a mate and you are open, you are not going to be starting from a point where you are trying to change all these things about yourself. You are going to start from a point where you are looking within your own culture, within your own caste, within your own community. You are going to need a very special reason to step out, because stepping out would mean different language, different food, different festivals, and then so much adjustment, and then trying to think, when you have children, what language are you going to teach them? What language are you going to speak within your houses? And if you have to move, which a lot of people have to do, if you're alone, then you are going to lose touch with all the festivals that you have grown up with, because it's not something that one person can do. You require a community to celebrate festivals like that. You are going to lose so much. So unless you have a very strong reason, you are not going to start off by saying, let me just open myself up to a lifetime of culture shock and adjustment and discomfort. You're going to start off from a place of comfort. And it's not like this is not happening in dating. A lot of people prefer that they date someone who is of the same religion or has similar religious beliefs as them, and they prefer to date somebody within the same financial bracket. You are not going to, on a hunch, go and date someone who belongs to a wildly different financial environment than you, because it is not a very practical choice. And if one of your friends is doing that, you're going to call it out. You know it's not a very practical choice, unless you are madly in love. That's different. So a lot of these things that arranged marriages get a bad reputation for, not only do they make complete sense in the context of the community and the society where they are taking place, but similar things happen in dating as well. So these two things are not so wildly different as sometimes the Western world believes that they are.